Hello and welcome back to El Porto de Primera REF show. We are back after another weekend of fantastic football. 3 weekends into Primera REF, and it is starting to feel like we are well and truly back. I'm delighted to say I'm joined once again by my co-host Liam. Liam, how are we doing?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, I didn't see all the games in their entirety this weekend, obviously, because that would be impossible. I saw an awful lot of this, Nick. Gestures on a podcast. Those of you not watching on YouTube, it was the old referee, no penalty, no off, whatever, denying the appeals. I think it is. I mean, I think it's a good idea overall, but I'm starting to get a little bit irritated. But I don't know about you, especially the fact that every single appeal appears to need to be included in the highlights. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the weekend. I watched some really good games, so that was great.
Definitely. Like I say, plenty of football and plenty of interesting results, which I'm sure we'll get into very, very shortly. Just to bring you up to date with a couple of pieces of news, Liam. We were talking about this just before we came on air, and there's not an awful lot happening at the moment. One thing that maybe might happen is the future of Oriol Riera is kind of up for discussion at the minute. Unionista's manager, currently rock bottom of Grupo Uno, 0 points, 3 defeats in 3. It's not looking great for the former Estepona manager, is it?
No, 0 goals as well, isn't it? And I think really, we did mention this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I think after the first game, he sort of said, well, we're basically rubbish. We're inferior to all the other squads, which is really not the sort of thing you should be saying. Even if maybe you feel like your team isn't the best, that's not going to help us. It's not going to really rouse the morale of the players. And yeah, I think they probably already decided from that point onwards that unless he got some great results, that they'd probably be looking to get rid of him quite quickly. And as things have transpired, things haven't got any better in the last 2 weeks since those comments. And yeah, I suspect that his days are extremely numbered. I would think by this time next week when we're recording, he will no longer be the Unionista's coach.
Yeah, there's there's plenty of managers that are looking for work at the moment, and Unionistas presents a unique challenge. One of these fantastic fan-owned clubs, with some fantastic facilities in a city which loves football. I don't suppose you saw that Juan Mata became a socio of Unionistas during last week as well. Do you reckon he could do a great job in the dugout?
A great. I mean, I think he's just joined Melbourne Victory, unfortunately, so hasn't he? Or I don't think he's available to be a player coach or anything. But yeah, I think it's a great vibe about the club. It's been a real shame to see how things have gone for them over the last 8 or 9 months. And yeah, I'd love to think that their fortunes would change. I suspect that we'll need a change of coach for that to happen. I don't think they've got the greatest squad. But I don't think Riera should have been saying what he said. And hopefully with the new man in charge, they'll start to head in the right direction up the table.
Yeah, they have been linked with a former Real Aviles coach. His name eludes me in a minute. Miguel something or other. I think I have written in the notes here, Miguel, etc., which I imagine is not his name. Though I would quite like that to be his name. But we'll keep an eye on that with good interest and like you say, to see whether we might have a different man in the dugout come Saturday this weekend. The other one, similar to last week's story, Liam, about Catarreño playing away from home, but also being at home against Arentero. They're going to be back at the Estadio Francisco de la Hera, this time against Merida. This is a bit of a spicy one, really, because this is 2 Extremadura's side playing at the home of Extremadura. It's just a lot of Extremadura-ness, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes. Get the whole Comunidad Autónoma involved in this one. I do think that it looks like their stadium will be ready for the next home game that they're due to play. I saw a picture today online. The grass has been laid, so that's a start. So I think they're getting pretty close to being ready, but clearly this weekend was too soon. So yes, they will play another home game in inverted commas in the home stadium of Extremadura, which is about an hour away, I think you said, didn't you? And so yeah, it's a derby, and I'm sure it's a derby they'd love to be playing in their own stadium, but still should be a decent atmosphere and a good occasion overall.
Yeah, definitely. I was reading as well, not quite Primera RF related, but obviously the demolition of the Benito Villamarin is happening at the moment, and a lot of the seats which were in the stadium have been donated to Catarreño as well. So if you want to see a unique piece of history, the former Real Betis seats of that world class, fantastic stadium will be in the Principe Felipe. So yeah, definitely go and check that out too. But it should be a very interesting game at the home of Extremadura nonetheless. Should we start to talk about some games that we did watch this weekend, Liam? Because we had a few that we picked out for everybody to watch, didn't we?
Yeah, it's the second weekend running, though, isn't it? That my plans have been slightly disrupted. Should we start with Grupo Uno there first of all, so before I start talking about Grupo Dos?
Yes, absolutely. Before the what might become the Liam curse starts to really set in, if you fancy not playing a game this weekend, get Liam to nominate your match for one to watch. But we'll start on Friday night anyway. Baracaldo against Arenas de Getxo. This was a sort of like Bilbao suburb derby, and certainly a Basque derby at that. One which Baracaldo came out on top, an impressive 2-1 win to get their first win of the season, Liam. They looked great in the first half as well, didn't they? I was really surprised that Arenas club, who have been playing so well this season, didn't really show up for this one.
Yeah, it's always hard, isn't it, when you have these situations? You're like, well, did Arenas de Getxo play really poorly or Baracaldo really good? And it's probably usually a mixture of those two things, isn't it? But yeah, they certainly absolutely dominated the first half, Baracaldo. Of course, I was quite impressed them against Zamora. I thought overall they probably deserved to win that game as well. So, probably not a huge surprise. But yeah, they really didn't get into the game at all, the visitors. And and then they gave they hung on to half time. I think they were said to say very much second best, and then straight after the interval, they didn't really distinguish themselves, did they? Arenas de Getxo in their own defensive area.
No, and I suppose it's to be expected ever so slightly. You know, they are playing at a higher level of football than they were used to. They've obviously surprised in these first two games, but similar to a couple of the newly promoted sides, they kind of forget where they are. I think Juventud de Torremolinos have also been, known for doing this, and they just kind of like put their foot through it and loft it up into the air, expecting that to solve all their problems. But then they will get punished. And with Baracaldo's first goal, it just seemed to be a bit of a calamity of errors that led to basically it falling to the foot of, I'm going to say this, Julian Udebro.
Udebro, I think,
is as good as mine.
Not an easy name to pronounce. It has to be said. You do pick some good names, Nick, don't you? So anybody else could have scored, but Udebro would have been handy for you. But yeah, it's a mouthful. I would agree.
Absolutely. I can never really tell. Like you say, is it Spanish? Is it French? Is it Basque? Is it?
Well, exactly.
I have no idea.
But it doesn't
he knows how to score a goal.
So I don't know, but I'm going to go with Udebro.
Udebro will go for. But he tell you what, he can score goals, can't he? Because that was an absolute, great finish. I know it sat up for him. Like I say, with that catalogue of errors, but you've still got to put it in the back of the goal, and this is a plumb strike, isn't it?
Very much so, hit it really well. But then you'd hope that Arenas de Getxo would learn from that. And then I thought they defended the second Baracaldo goal really poorly as well. I think they gifted them 2 goals overall, don't you think?
Yeah, I think they paid him a bit too much respect in that respect. They just gave Mandiang too much room on that right-hand side. He obviously gets his shot away, and the keeper does really well to get down to it. And it's kind of like hit the underside of his arm. And then basically it's there to be nodded in by Oriol Lopez, so you've been punished there. We've said Arenas Club have done quite well in the first 2 games. Defensively, this one, they were just at sea. They were just all over the place.
Yeah, I think that, I suppose, to be fair, what we've been most impressed by them in those first 2 games is our friend Mr. Baba, haven't we? And he was, again, sort of gotten back into it. I think 2-1 even at that stage felt like a little bit flattering to the away side, but yeah, he is some player, isn't he, Baba, on the strength of these first 3 games. And the goal he scores here, he takes on 3 or 4 players, goes past them, cuts into the middle of the box, smashes it past the keeper. Really, really impressive from him. Quite amusing there, the whole business with him with the coach of Tenerife, isn't it? Do you want to explain a bit more what we're on about here, Nick?
Yeah, so I think he was. I don't know if he was watching the highlights from the previous game or something like that, or whether this is an office chat that he's had with his backroom staff or the ownership at Tenerife, and he said that lad looks pretty good. He seems like a handful, and someone's kind of had to tap him on the shoulder and say, "He's one of ours. He's out on loan from us." It must be one of those things where he realizes and goes, And not that Tenerife need him at the moment, because obviously they're doing quite well anyway. But it is interesting to see that a club of that size, when they are down at this level, aren't always necessarily, or seemingly the manager isn't necessarily aware of where his players are or who is even in his roster. So, yeah, it's definitely Arenas Club's benefit at the moment. But much like their stadium, he might be going elsewhere in January, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if he's on a full season loan. I don't know what the recall options are and anything. But yeah, I think this points a lot towards, doesn't it, the fact that the sporting director does a lot of the work in Spain, and sometimes the coaches are quite shielded from it and don't always know what's going on. But I thought that was quite brilliant that Federico could say, first thing I knew about this bloke, who is on my team, essentially, if I wanted to be, is when I was watching highlights and I brought up the fact, as you say, that he seems good. Quite incredible. We've got another one over Tenerife, his loanees, coming up later on in the show, haven't we? So, yeah, they really are spoiled for choice at the moment, aren't they? They can send 2 players out on loan and still be 3 wins out of 3. So, yeah, very, very impressive performance from Baba. Although later on he had a good chance, which he wasted. But he's a young lad, isn't he? He's not going to score every time he gets in front of goal. And I mean, overall, I don't think that anyone could deny that Baracaldo deserved to win the game. And I suppose, although Arenas de Guecho will be disappointed, ultimately 3 games, what they've taken the first 3 games, they'll be well pleased with that one. I think 4 points out of 9 is not amazing, but it's solid for a team that we thought would be really, really up against it from day one. They've started not badly.
No, absolutely. I think they would have taken your hand off at this point to have 4 points on the board in the first 3 games, and also proving a lot of people that again, similar to Europa in Grupo Dos, and a couple of other newly promoted sides, that they're not just here to make up the numbers. They're not cannon fodder for the likes of Tenerife. One side maybe not doing as well as in terms of the newly promoted picture, Liam, is Cacereño. We're obviously already spoken about how they're not playing at their home stadium. The first 2 things I'd like to note about this game against Arenteiro: one, it is great to see the Estadio Francisco de la Era back in Primera Federación, because obviously it's a great club, Extremadura. I think it's Extremadura CD now, isn't it? It used to be UD. They can't be far away from rejoining us in the future, and it's a fantastic setup there. The second one is the Cacereño kit. I've kind of missed this one. I knew they had a really nice sort of like royal green and gold kit, but they have kind of like a giant white V across the chest as well. And I sat at this game admiring it. And I don't know if maybe the Cacereño players were admiring themselves too much, that they didn't notice how well Arenteiro were playing on the break, because despite starting off brightly, Arenteiro really started to grind them down. And again, surprising us, Arenteiro looked great in the, especially the second half of this first half.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I struggled with in this game was the fact that I thought the kits were very similar. I did like the Cacereño kit as well, but certainly I didn't watch this game live. I just watched the highlights, and Taylor playing in sort of blackish, and then Cacereño playing in sort of dark green. It was really difficult to pick up which side was which, to be honest, in the bright sunshine. So that was something I was quite surprised was allowed to happen. But yeah, certainly Arenteiro, we've said from the start that we think that they are not likely to do as well as they did last season, that they might be in and around the relegation zone. They've signed a ridiculous number of players, but they seem to be making it work so far, and they were pretty good in this game. And certainly towards the end of that first half, as you say, started to really get on top, and then scored an absolutely cracking goal, didn't they, to go ahead?
A second of the season from Mingo, as the commentator said. I had to double check that name, but obviously he made our team of the week last week. I imagine he was a close second reappearance this week, but I tell you what, looks a real handful. 22 years old, spent last season with Espanyol Bay. He's a bit of a pickup for the manager, who's obviously, I think Arenteiro's manager was Espanyol Bay's manager last season, so probably knows him through there, but he's looking really, really good. And, we've spoken about Arenteiro potentially struggling this season. If he can keep performing like this, Liam, and keep pulling his, side ahead and keep doing well, he could be the difference between them, staying in this league, couldn't he?
Yeah, very much so. Every team at that level wants to have a striker that scores 10 to 15 goals, because that's going to give them a massive chance, isn't it, of staying up. And clearly, Basalgo has done it in the past, and I think Chacon has done it also for Arenteiro. So they have managed to find a couple of strikers over the last couple of years that have scored those crucial goals that have kept them at Primera RFEF, which, as we've said before, is really in some ways, they are very much a small fish in a big pond. But yeah, fair play to them. I didn't rate their chances of doing very well this season at the start of the season. We're only 3 games in, but I think they've got 2 wins, haven't they, in those first 3 games?
Mm-hmm.
And this was a good performance. I don't know. I mean, I think I've seen a lot of negativity already about Catalonia. Some of the fans saying, this team isn't good enough. We need to get players in, which of course they can't really do now. What do you make of it overall? It was impressive from Alan Taylor. Were Catalonia that bad? I thought they were not too disappointing in my opinion, but I know that some others disagree with that.
I think what it is with Casareno at the minute is, certainly in passages of play against Arenteiro, they didn't look bad. They played football very, very well. They like to keep the ball and they like to play nice football, but they just don't seem to have an output. They don't seem to have what Arenteiro have got, for example, with Mingo. They couldn't work the ball into the box, to get it in front of a striker. They were reduced to a lot of shots from distance, which, when they do go in, it's great, it's spectacular. When they don't go in, it gets frustrating. So I think, if they can find somebody, obviously they can still sign free transfers or free agents, I should say. If they can find a goal scorer, then they probably won't be too far away. But I'm just a bit worried that they don't have that goal scorer that you need to even finish mid-table in this league.
Yeah, that would be my concern, I suppose. But I don't think there's time to be too despondent just yet. But clearly, you wouldn't want it, even if it's not your home ground. You would want to be getting something from a game against Alan Taylor. I think at the start of the season, they wouldn't be looking to lose this one as the home team, albeit playing an hour from home. So yeah, we'll see how it goes for them. But hopefully they'll pick up. Certainly, they're looking for a striker. That's one thing that Tenerife, game number 3 for you, are not desperately in need of right now, are they?
No, they're literally handing them out to other teams, and like I say, we'll mention another one after we've already spoken about Baba. But to be fair, in this game between Pontevedra and Tenerife, I thought Ruben Dominguez's men started quite brightly. I was quite impressed with how they played. They didn't seem balked by the challenge of playing a team like Tenerife. Danny Selmer had an effort cleared off the line, so they almost drew the first blood. But the difference is sometimes when you play against a team that have come down from Segunda, they still, despite not showing it too much last season, they still have that added bit of quality, that little edge over some sides, especially they've been promoted. And Tenerife's opener was it was all over that, wasn't it? It was the lofted pass, it was the beating of the offside trap, it was the tap back rather than the speculative shot. It was a very, very well worked goal for Jesus Di Miguel, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there we go. We know in that situation he's not going to miss, is he? 3 from 3 he's got, and I think he's nailed on to get 20 goals this season. And if he does, I'd be very surprised if Tenerife don't win the league. But yeah, fair play to Pontevedra. They kept going. Danny Martin and Tenerife had plenty to do. Perhaps a bit like Catalonia, quite a lot of it was long range in terms of the efforts that they put in on goal. Pontevedra, but decent. And then another well-worked goal, 2-0, game over.
Yeah, again, this is training ground stuff, or I think the word we keep using with Tenerife is routine. And it's as simple as it comes. It's a corner into the near post, a flick on, and Landazuri he's just waiting there. He's on the run in, and he just has to power it home. And again, it capped off a very good game for him. He was very brilliant, with whatever Pontevedra were chucking forward. He was a large part why they were reduced to shooting from distance so much, because he seemed to pocket the striker for large parts of this game. And it's just Tenerife just in gear at the moment, aren't they, Liam? They are just churning out the results. They are taking everyone on and just basically keeping it simple and getting wins. And as you say, they might have this league wrapped up sooner than we think.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say, you mentioned the word gear there. I kind of feel like they're nowhere near top gear. Do you know what I mean? I just feel that they're just playing well within themselves. They've not had any serious challenges yet. They've, of course, played 2 promoted sides. Let's not forget Pontevedra and Guadalajara. So there are tougher tests to come, I think. And we'll see how they cope with those. But 7 goals and none conceded in the first 3 games. Yeah, it is a very impressive start. And I think that there would be a certain amount of pressure on them coming down to get off to a good start. I think if they hadn't started well, then the doubts might start to set in. But you can't ask for much better than that, can you? 7 goals in 3 games, 9 points out of 9, and they do look fairly scary at the moment for the rest of the division. But it's a long season. There's still another 35 games to go, so a lot can happen between now and the end of it.
Yeah, 35 and a half if you are both of the next sides, because let's move on to Grupo Dos. As we've had before, a couple of touches of death from Liam with the Racing Club de Ferrol and Real Madrid Castilla fixture being postponed for international break. This time in Sabadell and Cartagena.
Very good. Cartagena, don't change that. That's absolutely correct.
Talk about this one, Liam, because this one looked doomed from the start, but they did play. We didn't finish, did we?
No, I don't. To be fair, I don't think it did. I mean, I may have missed this, but I don't think it was raining at the start, was it? I think the funny thing about this was, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, the first home game Sabadell had, which I think was against Eldense. There was a really good crowd for that, and we know that they've sold season tickets for as little as €95. So it was great. The Estadio Nova Croalta, I've seen quite a few times, and it's quite often been quite empty. It's a big stadium, so it doesn't take much for it to look empty, but it was really impressive that day. I looked at this one as the game kicked off, and I thought, this is a really poor turnout, and it was one of those lunchtime games on a Saturday, which, as you know, have been really widely condemned by fans. It seems to me to be almost the time that people hate the most in this new schedule that really panders a little bit to TV viewers. So I thought that might be the part of the reason why the crowd was a lot lower than I was expecting for a team that's newly relegated. It looked like a decent game on paper. But I think it was probably because everybody's seen the weather forecast. The stadium has very little covers in it. And I think it was about maybe 10 or 15 minutes into the game that it started to chuck it down. And it really chucked it down. And I think within about 20, 25 minutes, the pitch was completely unplayable. Such was the amount of rain that fell in such a short period of time that some of the water was cascading down the steps in the stands. In a way, I'm pleased that they did call this off, because we have seen some farcical games in the past, haven't we? Where in Spain, where they just carry on playing, and it clearly wasn't safe. The ball wasn't rolling at all. The referee did actually speak to both captains, and they both sort of said, I think they were thinking, let's try and get to half time, because it's about 40 minutes on the clock. And then literally 2 minutes later, the ball went over near, I think, probably the Cartagena coach, and he was like going, you just can't carry on. And the referee just put his whistle to his mouth, went, no, we're going to have to stop here. But you mentioned that there will be half a game to play. Why is that, Nick? Why? Because we played 42 minutes. Now, in this country, if we played 42 minutes and the game was abandoned, we just play the game again, wouldn't it? But it doesn't quite work like that in Spain.
No, it does not. People might remember people might not remember the Copa del Rey final back in, I want to say it was 1996. Deportivo La Coruña and Real Madrid went to 77 minutes, torrential rain, a game abandoned. And they would have to play the final 13 minutes 2 days later. Similar situation here, Liam. They're going to play the remaining, I think it's 44 minutes that are on the clock. So basically the entire second half still to go. Primera RFEF are going to have to let both Cartagena and Sabadell know when they're going to squeeze that game in. It'll probably be the 19th, I want to say, if it's in line with when Castilla and Ferrol are going to play. But yeah, it's a long way to go for it to get called off to then come back again, isn't it? That's the only downside from the away side perspective.
Very much so. So they've got to go back for half a game, as you say, and then Cartagena to Sabadell, which is just north of Barcelona, is a very long way, as you say. So, but what can you do? Those are the rules. It wouldn't necessarily. It's still a long way, even if they're playing 90 minutes. So it doesn't make that much difference. I suppose at 0-0 as well, you could say, well, there's no real advantage for either side, so fair enough. So it was obviously the right call. But yeah, following on from my decision to recommend Racing Club de Ferrol's trip to Real Madrid Castilla, then that was obviously called off before it even got started. So I've not done very well the last 2 weeks. So I'm a bit nervous about my 3 games to watch this weekend, but hopefully all 3 of them will be finished. But yeah, overall, couldn't really say much about the game because very quickly became a bit of a farce. And yeah, I suppose the only thing to say was that Cartagena had pink kits.
Yes, yeah. And it was another pink. It's the season of pink kits as well, isn't it? Actually, just thinking about this, there's a pink kit in your next pick as well, wasn't it? Marbella against Ibiza. Now, I really like this pink kit. I like all the Ibiza shirts, to be fair, and I'm pretty certain I'm going to go to Ibiza just to buy one. I'm writing an article for a unknown secret project on El Partido that is to be announced. I just love all the Ibiza kits, which is strange because Puma have been quite meh the last few years, but they seem to pull the bag out for this Balearic side.
Yeah, I was interested with this one because, of course, I know that you're desperate to see them wear their third kit, and you suggested it won't happen, and I really like their third kit as well. But yeah, this is a fairly good consolation prize if they're not going to wear a third kit. The pink away kit, I think, was very nicely done, to be fair. And this was a decent game overall. I thought that it was about right, 1-1. That's how it finished. I thought the first half was especially good. Decent free kick from Alex Martinez. I thought the wall could have jumped a bit higher. That's Marbella going ahead in the first sort of 10 minutes. Lovely curling effort. But yeah, the wall didn't really get up a great deal. And if you don't then jump high, then there's always a risk. It's going over. And he got it back down again really well, to be fair. Martinez was doing just outside the box, wasn't it? So he did well. Had a couple of chances to make it 2-0 Marbella. But I thought that Ibiza might well have scored as well. They had a chance. Senier had a chance for a corner. Gaillard, I mean, Senier not renowned for his goals, but Gaillard's got a few over the last few years. I thought he should have done better. He had an effort near the penalty spot and didn't even hit the target. So yeah, it was a decent game. Both chances at both ends. What did you make of Ernest Oemeng's Bebe impression?
It must be flattering for Bebe to see people wanting to emulate something that only he can do at this level. And I like Oemeng as a player. I just don't think he's got this in his locker. So, I admire the gusto of it, but you cannot try it from that distance, unless you are Bebe, unfortunately. So maybe next time they'll say just Ernest, just a little bit closer next time. You can go for it, but maybe just 10 more yards, please.
It was about 40 yards there, was it? It didn't make it to the goal, but I would have been it would have taken a calamitous error for the keeper. It wasn't even on target, was it? So it would have taken a calamitous error for the keeper if it'd been on target, because he really didn't have a lot of pace left in it by the time he arrived at the goal mouth. But yeah, fair play to him, yeah, backing himself and all that. And the longer the second half went on, the more I thought Marbella are going to close this one out and just win 1-0. But Davo scramble one home late on for the visitors. I mean, I don't know what the Marbella defence were doing. They just all stood and watched him. The ball sort of rolled into the 6-yard box and he turned on it. And there were plenty of Marbella for the defenders back there, but nobody really reacted quickly enough. But I think overall that was probably about right. I thought 1-1 was about fair and the balance of play. Two sides, as we've said before, we think are going to be right up there at the end of the season. And yeah, I mean, I think they both take a point overall from this game at this stage of the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even from a Marbella perspective, being the home side, I think they would look at the form that Ibiza have demonstrated so far and go, yeah, we'll take a point here. And I think, for me watching this game, this might be Marbella's undoing as far as the season goes. This inability to maybe hold on for the entire 90 minutes. They've conceded that late goal a couple of times now, and they were quite known for it last season as well. But, if they can learn to just shut up shop, especially against top sides like Ibiza, then they will definitely be up and around that top, 3 to 5. I'm just concerned from the minute that if they can't see out a game, then they might just fall short of the ultimate target of being in the promotion picture.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've got a great squad, as we've said before. There's a lot of reasons to believe in them, but you're right. They've not been great at holding on to leads, or even scoring a second goal and sort of killing the game off. So that's something they really need to work on. But still, there will be other games, I'm sure, that they'll hold on to win 1-0 fairly comfortably, I think. I mean, they are playing one of the better sides in Ibiza for me. So we'll see if they can be a bit more clinical when they hit the front. And if they can be a bit more regularly, then yes, certainly I think they're still a good bet to go very close to the automatic promotion place. The last game was, of course, Antequera against Alcorcon. Obviously very interested in what was going on in the field, because it's a decent game to be watching as my third game. But my $64,000 question, this one, if you were listening to us last week, was would she or wouldn't she? And thankfully, the question was answered for me when the man behind the Alcorcon Irlanda Twitter account, Alex O'Brien, who'd gone all the way from Cork to Antequera. That's Cork in Ireland, by the way, not some sort of suburb of Seville or something. He got all the way from Ireland with his girlfriend Chelsea to watch this game. Well, he'd gone to watch the game. Was she going to watch the game? Yes, she was. We saw a photo posted of the two of them by him inside the stadium. I was delighted and, of course, incredibly pleased that it didn't rain, because I've been to Antequera and I know where the away fans are put right in the corner. Absolutely no cover in that corner of the ground, anywhere near cover even. I think the bar is about 200 yards away. So yeah, I was delighted to stay dry for Chelsea and also, of course, for Alex, although he'd have been less bothered by the end of the game about getting wet, given that they came out 2-1 winners, Alcorcon, didn't they? I think we're 8 away fans overall, including our Irish couple. So tremendous effort. It's a long way, as we know, from Madrid to southern Andalusia. So brilliant stuff. And what about this subplot, though, in terms of Vladis, who obviously was supposed to be leaving, and then he was apparently so damaged psychologically by not being allowed to leave and go to Cadiz that he was signed off work, essentially. He's been on the bench ever since. But in the meantime, his replacement's on fire, isn't he?
It is, and he made my team of the week as well, Mariano Carmona, yeah, amongst the goals, he seems to be leading the line really, really well for Alcorcon. You know, obviously the first game wasn't what they would have wanted, but the last 2 results have been, you know, absolutely brilliant for them. And yeah, it might be a struggle now for Vladis to get his starting berth back, because you cannot take this man, who is quite clearly in form, out of the picture. He's looking brilliant, isn't he?
Absolutely. He's on loan from Cordoba, I think. And, you know, as you say, he scored both the last 2 games. He got an assist in not this weekend's game, but the weekend before. So he's really, really finding his feet very quickly. I don't think he played an awful lot for Cordoba. I don't think he's played at all in Segundo, maybe the odd substitute appearance late on. But yeah, he looks a really decent player. And I suppose looking forward, we may be in a situation, we're told that Vladis will leave next summer, if not before. Maybe Carmona, who's on loan, maybe he might be available to take his place if Cordoba decide that they don't want to have him back. But that's speculating well in advance, and it is very early days to be saying he's the solution, he's the next Vladis. But what a great start. And talking of great things that happened in this game, David Ramos, I think you liked this one, didn't you? He did smash, yes, for the home side of the
yeah, I was going to say, I was looking at the highlights of this, thinking I want to share a clip from this game, and I looked at the 2 Alcorcon goals. Very good goals, you know, nothing too major. This one, though, the way he catches this on the half volley, David Ramos will be very proud of this one. I think many footballers will be very proud of this one. What a great finish from him! It was an absolute belter, wasn't it?
Yeah, I said unfortunate. I didn't mean unfortunate because he scored for Antequera. I have nothing against Antequera, but just unfortunate in that it was a splendid goal, but counted for absolutely nothing, did it? Because they lost the game 2-1. And I suppose if you asked David Ramos afterwards, would he rather not score and win the game 1-0? I suspect he'd say yes. And Antequera don't have a win yet, do they?
No.
So we did suggest that they were going to struggle to repeat their achievements last year. And again, I keep saying this, but we are only 3 games in, but that's not a great start for them, is it? And it doesn't look great for them. Whereas by contrast, Alcorcon, as you say, that disappointing injury time defeat on the first day of the season away at Villarreal B, they've now won the last 2 and are very much back on track for me in terms of their aspirations for the season, which must be, I would think, playoffs minimum, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I think with Antequera, maybe you could look at it and say, well, you know, it's not as bad as Unionistas, for example. You know, they're still within a point of, you know, plenty of other sides, so they can recover. It's that thing, though, where we discussed in the preview games, they just seem to have lost a lot of attacking quality. They've still managed to keep, you know, Bibiani, but he needs help up there. And I can't even remember if he played in this game. I can't remember seeing him, to be fair. But, you know, it is worrying from an Antequera perspective, because it was such a good story for them last year to make the playoffs against the grain. But this summer of change, I just can't see them necessarily. They they might just stay up at this rate. But at the minute, I'm being deceived by where they are. It's just not looking good, is it?
No, I don't think it is. I think. I mean, losing Alex Rubio literally on the last day of the transfer window was a big blow. I'm not saying he's an amazing 20 goals a season striker, but he was decent for them last season in the number 9 position. And I think that's a big loss at the last minute. And I don't yet see anybody that they brought in or anybody that could step up to take his place. So yeah, it looks like a tough season ahead for them. I hope not, because it's a great club and I don't want to see them struggle. But yeah, I don't think there's any chance of them being playoffs this year. And I would think they'd be more likely to be looking nervously over their shoulder, I'm afraid.
Yes, definitely, and we'll keep an eye on them. Like I say, as we do with all 40 teams as well, Liam. And I'm glad that the Alcorcon Antequera game didn't fall foul of the Liam curse for Alex's sake, more than anything.
Yeah, exactly. Traveling all that way, and the two of them are then not seeing a full 90 minutes. That would have been a nightmare, wouldn't it? No, we've got the round of fixtures. Obviously, we've still got another 14 games to talk about. I've got a bit of a problem here, though, Nick, because I can only find 13 results. And that's unfortunate. This is also on YouTube. I can't really start searching my mobile phone for the one I've missed out. So somebody, no doubt, tomorrow will message us and say, you didn't tell us about that game. If you could spot it as we go down these, Nick, then please, by all means, shout it out on the spot. Or if you can surreptitiously look at your phone, then even better. But yeah, let's start with Hércules 0, Algeciras 1, shall we? What did you make of that?
Yes, and it was your man. Our man, as you so kindly pointed out to me, ex-Yaclano centre-back Mayorga, who scored last week as well, if I remember. Oh, no, sorry, he was in your team of the week last week, but he popped up with an absolute belting header from the corner this time to get a win for Algeciras against Hércules. Again, Hércules, we thought would be up there, or we thought we'd be doing well this season. This is another result for them that isn't particularly great. And in the opposite corner, Algeciras, where we were saying that they were going to struggle, seemingly doing all right, Liam.
Yeah, not bad at all from them. I think Hector was a bit unlucky in this. I thought the sending was harder in Ter or handball. He's had that been given because, he's kind of the last man, but I don't know. I thought there was a tough sending off. I thought it was a clear penalty. I think they appealed it. FES came into play. It still wasn't given. Yeah, it's not quite going for them. I thought they played pretty well in this game and still got nothing from it. I think it's a case of not panicking. I think Lugo, who we'll mention later on, are in the same situation. Those two squads are decent squads. Neither of them have started that well. But I think they will turn it around over the course of a 38-game season. Teruel 1, Eldense 1. Is this the... it's not the latest goal, I think, in Primera RFEF. I think there's one this weekend that actually broke records in one of the other games, but it was very, very late, wasn't it, in injury time that Teruel equalised. Did you see what Vicente Parra posted, though, on his Twitter account? I thought that was Vicente Parra, by the way, he's a Teruel coach. Did you see what he posted after the game?
He posted a replay of the penalty that Teruel weren't given, which I think sums this league up perfectly well, if anything, like you say, because it's not something you'd get away with in the Spanish Segunda winning. But when the manager is then turning to his social media to post replays, he's probably clipped on his phone to his personal account. It's not a great look, but I suppose you can see why he was upset, can't you, Liam?
Well, it looks like a blatant penalty to me. That's why. I mean, I totally agree. I'd be very upset as well. And if you remember rightly, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about an offside, weren't we? That we didn't think was offside. That was, I think, eventually disallowed after an FES check. So I think Teruel, who we know haven't got the strongest squad in the league, are really feeling that, everything is against him at the moment. But yeah, I don't think it's a great look. I'd be surprised he doesn't receive some sort of sanction for that. Maybe I missed it. Maybe there's another Vicente Parra out there who's a Teruel fan, but it looked to me very much like it was the coach's account that he posted it on. And yeah, quite amusing. What was not amusing, of course, in the next game I was going to mention was Villarreal B, Villarreal B 3, Europa 3. Why was I particularly disappointed about that? You think on the face of it, that's a decent point for Europa, but that doesn't tell the whole story, does it?
No, it doesn't, because Europa actually went 3 goals ahead in this game. So again, away from home, we've spoken how Europa like to play a bit of gung-ho football, and I will certainly mention a player we mentioned last week, Jordi Canio. What a goal this is. If you do anything after you've listened to this podcast, go on to the YouTube highlights, check out this finish. It's a looping shot across the top of the goalkeeper into the top corner. It's a belter, isn't it?
Yeah, I think looping's a bit harsh. He smashes it. Looping. I think this is a brilliant goal. And as I say, I don't think I watched the highlights last week of Europa, I think. That was a draw, wasn't it, against Sevilla Atletico, I think. So I didn't really notice Cano. You can't really spot him in the highlights, particularly in that game. But yeah, it certainly came to my attention this week. It was an absolute cracker. And yeah, disappointing in that situation. I think it was only 20 minutes to go, wasn't there, as well, when they ended with 3-0 up. So to end up with a point from that situation is very disappointing for them. But at the start of the day, I'm sure they're taking a point away and being out there. So I guess they have to look at that and be philosophical about it. One team who are sort of following in the Alan Taylor mold in terms of surprising is Atletico Sanluqueno, isn't it? Who won 3-1 away at Gimnástica de Tarragona. We were expecting Gymnastic to have a tougher season this season, we thought. We're not sure they're going to make the top 5, and results like this are certainly not convincing us. But it's a pretty miserable afternoon overall, wasn't it, for them?
Yeah, definitely. It I can't really put my finger on it for Nastic at the moment. They just seem to be existing, and I don't want to take anything away from Sanluqueno's victory, because they played very, very, very well. But something's just not right at the New Estadio Costa de Rueda at the minute, really. And this is a result, really, that Nastic of the past, 4 or 5 seasons wouldn't have accepted. But it seems to be acceptable now. Again, I don't really know how I feel about that, Liam, in terms of are they purposely happy for this result to happen? Or will San Pedro get the Danny Vidal treatment?
I just think it's slightly a case of just a bit of despondency, isn't it? I think the fans perhaps a little bit. I wouldn't expect them to be completely outraged by this. They didn't help themselves, did they? I mean, what on earth is Captoum doing there? I mean, he's on a booking and he dives on the edge of the box. It is simulation. I don't care what anyone says. It's just unforgivable on a booking. Maybe it's instinctive. He's looking for a penalty, but ridiculous. Just there's a little bit of, as I say, a sense of, rather than getting angry, they just seem a little bit kind of depressed.
It's like they're a bit despondent, isn't it, at the minute?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. But I still think we can't take anything away from Atletico Sanluqueno, so it's a really decent win. 2-2 for Sato, ex-Yaclano Deportivo, we do love to mention, don't we? Delight for him. A great person as well as a decent player, and very pleased that he's doing well in his new home. And a beautiful goal from the right back, Sola. How about that? A beautiful ticket.
I really enjoyed this goal. It was like I say, for him to work the overlap the way that he did and to finish the way that he did as well. And to be honest, when I first saw it, I was like, that must be a really classy right winger for him to do that. He's the right back, and you know what? He's been. Looking back at a few of the other games, because obviously this is now, 3 games unbeaten for Sanluqueno. He's been that marauding right back in every single one of these games so far. He is a class act, and again, a bit of a find for Atletico Sanluqueno as well, who are defying the odds a little bit. I think I recognise which game might be missing from here, Liam, and I think it's a bit of a biggie, because we were going to talk about it, and I might even be getting a tattoo at the end of the season. It's Guadalajara that we're missing from this list. And what a result that was for them this weekend. A 2-0 win against Unionistas. Another win for them on the bounce. Is it on? Are we reaching the playoffs, Liam?
Oh, man, it will be the finest shirt ever to grace the Primera Federación playoffs if they do. Let's be clear about that. I have to say, we're going to talk, I think, later on about artificial pitches, aren't we? Their pitch is looking a little bit concerning for September. But full credit to them. They played. I mean, we know already, we've said that Unionistas in the news stories are probably going to have a new coach by this coming weekend. And it wasn't a great performance from the away side. But yeah, we've talked before about momentum, haven't we, Nick? And clearly losing to Tenerife on the first day of the season, I don't think that would have upset them at all. But to win the next 2 games, 2-0, I think it's in both cases, isn't it, really? You just never know, do you? I think that clearly their squad is a small squad, and they've got no right to be even considered as anywhere near a playoff side. But you never know. And everything I see about this club and read about this club, I really like. And so, yeah, apart from the fact that I love their purple kit, I will be rooting for this season. And I hope you're right. I still find it hard to believe that they will be a serious playoff contender. But yeah, 2 wins out of 3, great stuff.
Definitely. And the tattoo I'm referring to, there was a girl on Twitter who said that if Cartagena re-sign De Blasis, that she would get the club name on her arm. She did. I jokingly said that if Guadalajara reached the playoffs, I might. I am terrified of needles, Liam. So that is a false promise I'm putting out. With 35 games to go, I really hope they do make the playoffs, because it'd be great prediction from myself. But yeah, and I can't get a tattoo.
It's Guadalajara as well, isn't it? I mean, you were
going to be a wraparound.
We're going to do that. Should you not go for something like, I don't know, Irun? Yeah, Reunion, that's the long one, isn't it? No, there's somebody out there. Merida would have been much better, surely. That's only like 7 letters.
Oh, absolutely. Though, to be fair, no, well, exactly. But to be fair, from a Merida perspective, it's kind of looking like the opposite at the moment, and absolute hammering this weekend from Celta Fortuna. Celta Fortuna 4, Merida 2. A stunning hat-trick from Hugo Gonzalez. We don't like it when filiales do this, do we, Liam? But it's a good win for them, to be fair. Away from home.
It was a tremendous hat-trick, wasn't it? I know the third goal is I think it's the latest ever goal now in Primera RFEF history. I think it's about the 102nd minute. And of course, the keeper's come up for the corner and it's cleared. And so Gonzalez scores from inside his own half, which without a keeper in the goal, not quite so difficult, but still he's got to be 60 yards away from the goal, right out on the touchline. So, not an absolute gimme, but yeah, he was hugely impressive. And I thought Merida were okay. I think that the expectations are so high, aren't they, after what they did last year? And I think this is one very impressive individual performance from one of the opposition players, and overall Celta Fortuna, I think they will be in and around the playoffs probably, and they usually are, to be fair, in their group. So yeah, it's disappointing, but not the end of the world. We've got 2 all filial clashes coming up here. Should we just give the results?
Yeah, 1-0 Sevilla Atletico in the Seville derby against Betis Deportivo. Meh. Bilbao Athletic 1, Real Madrid Castilla 0. Meh. Who cares? Tell me more about Orense versus Talavera, Liam, because yet another pink kit on show and another promoted side picking up a first win of the season.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Talavera. As with every side, isn't it, really, that's come up, you just really want to get that first win under your belt. And Talavera were pretty impressive in the first away game. Again, it was up in Galicia, wasn't it? So they've done some miles already. Poor old Talavera's down to the southwest of Madrid. And that's 2 very long away trips. The first one, disappointing result, although a good performance. This time, a much better result against Orense. Orense winners in 3. I think we said they'd struggle. I didn't see much in this game to suggest that they won't struggle. It wasn't just the result, it was the performance. I thought they were poor. And I think Talavera fully deserved their victory. Atletico B 1, Real Murcia 1, a very, very late equaliser that I obviously didn't enjoy at all. Flacus off and running already. And talking to strikers that are off and running, Nick, Zamora 1, Lugo 0.
Debut goal for Eslava. We were saying it was a long-awaited debut. We've been expecting big things from Zamora this season. He's now back from injury and he is off the mark. And this is what all Zamora fans would have been wanting to see. It's a good win for Zamora. It gets them sort of like back on an even keel. I think they've drawn the last 2, if I remember rightly. Bad news for Lugo, though. Like I say, we were maybe thinking Lugo might do a little bit better than this. But they are really struggling to find a win at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, all I'd say is their 2 away games have been Real Madrid Castilla and Zamora. I don't know, Nick. I kind of feel like sometime in the future, somebody will suddenly say, "Do you know what? This playing out from the back, it's not what it's cracked up to be," because it's just filtered right down to the lowest levels. I mean, my step 4 non-league side do it in the UK, and yeah, I get the risk and reward, but this is the winning goal. The winning goal is playing out for the back, keeper to defender. Defender gives it away. And I'm pretty sure there was an instance early on in the game when they nearly gifted Zamora a goal. And I just don't think that the rewards are significantly high for the risks that you take, especially in the third tier of Spanish football. But I think Lugo will be, as I said earlier, I think Lugo will be okay across the whole season. But again, they have got a good squad of players. They haven't started well. They haven't got a win. It's about just reminding themselves that they are a decent team. It hasn't gone from so far, but they can turn it around. They will find easier tests coming up as long as they don't treat them as easy tests. I think that life will get better for them. But yeah, disappointing start for them. Racing Club de Ferrol 2, Pontevedra 1. So that's 2 wins in 2 for Pablo Lopez's boys from Ferrol. Of course, they've only played 2 games because of that postponement. They play that catch-up game, I think, midweek next week, isn't it, Nick? On the 19th.
On 19th, I think it is. Yeah.
Or is it? No, wait a minute.
No, sorry. It's this Wednesday. Sorry, it's the 17th, and then it's the normal games on the 19th because the 19th is the weekend, which is when we usually play football. Exactly. Yeah, back-to-back defeats for Ponfe as well here, Liam. They kind of feeling the taste of, maybe similar to Nastic as well, where they've obviously had a bit of a drop in quality of play that they've got, and it's starting to go against the grain of where they've been the last few seasons. For me, I think Ponfe will definitely be back in amongst it. They've just got to brush themselves down for this, because there's no shame in going to Malata and losing. They are a very good side, are Ferrol, and Pablo Lopez is a very, very good manager.
Yeah, interesting for me as a fan of Segunda, of course. Alvaro Jimenez, my old mate from his Real Zaragoza days, when I once said that if he scored 10 goals in a season, I'd fly over to Spain and clean his car for him, because there was absolutely no chance of it ever happening. He didn't score 10 goals that season, needless to say. And then he's disappeared after, I think, Club de Ferrol after leaving Zaragoza. But one of the very few players who stayed at Racing Club de Ferrol after the summer clear out. And to be fair to him, at Primera Federación level, I suspect he's still worth 10, 12 goals at least over the season. So yeah, that shows you what they've still got there at Racing Club de Ferrol in terms of their squad. And, they've won 2 out of 2. It'll be very interesting to see if they can go to Real de Castilla and win there. If they do, of course, then they'll be level with Tenerife, and that 2-horse race that we've talked about possibly developing may well be up and running in terms of both sides pushing each other for a large part of the season. I don't like the kit there, Nick. I don't like those pinstripes. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan. Can't be done with that. I really like the I think with the Ferrol kit that they wore in Segunda, especially 2 seasons ago. The pinstripes never does it, I'm afraid.
No, I think personally, anything after the Lotto era for Racing Club de Ferrol is a failure, and they should go back. They should get it back out the cupboard and and get it back on, because it was absolutely spectacular. Speaking of getting off the mark, Liam, Real Aviles Industrial 2, Osasuna Promesas 0. This is a result we wanted to see, isn't it? This is what we've been waiting for.
Very much so. Always like to see a Filial get beaten, as we know, but also really impressive from Real Aviles. When you think about the fact the first game of the season at half-time, they were losing 3-0. They haven't conceded since. So they played 2.5 games since then and not conceded 1 goal. And they were good in this game. I know we said Osasuna Promesas is a team that we expect to be down near the bottom, but they played really well. They won comfortably. They had other chances to score. So yeah, really pleased for them. And another team I'm really pleased for, a newly promoted side, Juventud de Torremolinos, who beat Tarazona 2-1. As you know, I'm a big fan of Tarazona, but this is one a result I could live with, because they were behind in this game. And if the rumours are to be believed, they're not being paid, the players, at the moment, and haven't been paid for quite a while. So to come back from 1-0 down in front of their own fans and win 2-1 just says a huge amount about the group of players that they've got there, that they can put those worries to one side. And these are people not able to pay their mortgages and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's serious stuff, this, isn't it? I know they're semi-pro, but they depend on their football money to pay the bills, and they're not getting paid. So tremendous stuff from them, and full credit to them to getting their first win on the board. Shall we look at what's coming up this weekend? Do you want to start doing your Grupo Dos first of all, and then we'll just do it the other way around, just for a change, Nick?
Yeah, let's just change it up a little bit. Let's do Grupo Dos first. I'm going to go with the aforementioned Torremolinos. They are away to Alcorcon. I think that'll be a very good game, especially with Alcorcon, as we've mentioned, really hitting form. But I think we're also seeing Torremolinos having that really fighting attitude. We saw it away in Murcia as well, which I think is quite good to watch. Europa against Nastic, a bit of a sort of like Catalonian derby. Obviously, I think there's a fair bit of distance between these two sides, but it's always interesting when you get teams from the same region come up against each other. And you wouldn't bet against Europa for this at the moment, because, like you say, they are gung ho, but they are scoring lots of goals, and Nastic are unfortunately conceding a lot. And then last, a bit of a. I don't think Alicante is in Murcia, is it? I think it's just over the border in Valencia. But at Jose Rico Perez, they're hosting at Cartagena, and yeah, I think that'd be quite a decent game as well.
The only reason we put this in, really, Nick, is because you just want to show off your newfound pronunciation of Cartagena, isn't it? You're not really into this game at all. You just want to say Cartagena 20 times in this show. That's all it is.
It's the combination of my learnings, Liam, because if you remember when we started this podcast and I couldn't say Hercules either.
This is very just, true. You were Hercules.
You should be like a proud teacher.
I am very proud of you, Nick. I'm very proud of you. My games are Pontevedra against Guadalajara, and I think that's a really interesting one because we've just said, obviously, that Guadalajara won their last two and Pontevedra lost their last two. If Guadalajara want to be taken seriously up near the top of the table, this is a game they probably need to get something from. Similarly, Ponfe need to see off those pesky new boys in their own stadium. Antequera against Zamora, interesting as well. Antequera, as we said, started better than we expected. Zamora unbeaten, but again, if they want to be considered as a serious challenger, they need to go to someone like Antequera and win. Not very far away, others, so I think they'll take a really decent following there. And then Lugo against Racing Club de Ferrol. This is a Galician derby. We had a bit of a mix-up with these last year, didn't we? We were consistently putting Ponferradina, Ponferrada, the team from Ponferradina in Galicia. They're not, but Lugo and I think Club de Ferrol both are Galician sides, and it's a big game. As I say, I think that Lugo got a great squad, so I think Club de Ferrol, so I'm really looking forward to that. I am aware, though, Nick, after running through those 6 games, that we are again very close to the hour mark, so we may have to leave that question again.
Yes, exactly. Maybe we'll put it out on Twitter for other people to answer as well. So maybe we'll keep it secret for now because there's just too much football to discuss, isn't there?
There is indeed, and we like to feel that we're covering everybody, even if it's just a couple of sentences, isn't it? We don't want anybody apart from the filiales to be ignored. So we have probably spent longer on the round of the other games than we might do. We hope you appreciate that. If you just want us to read out the results, by all means, feed that back to us, and we will shorten that section of the show going forward.
Why not? Why not? Any plugs for the Spanish Segunda show this week? Any exciting interviews or guest appearances or fixtures we can look forward to?
Well, I'm talking to some bloke about Malaga at some point, but that's only on the Patreon extra content, I think. So you might. I know it's actually on the early and ad free, isn't it? So yeah, he's a damn good chap. I look forward to speaking to him about Malaga. And yeah, overall, Segunda continues to be fantastic. They've lost their first coach this week in terms of sackings, and the Castellon coach is gone. So it would seem that both divisions are going to lose a coach this week. And yeah, there's been loads of goals last weekend, and I expect it to be just as many this forthcoming match day. Yeah,
Pablo Hernandez in at Castellon. I'm very excited to see how that turns out, and I would like to see him be made manager permanently as well. But I will. If he doesn't and he fancies dropping down to the El Pozo, then we'll be delighted to see him join us as well. On El Partido this week as well, Liam, I've got a very exciting guest from the Twitter account Estadios de España. We're going to be talking all about some of our favourite stadiums that no longer exist, and also talking about sort of like the emergence of new stadiums as well in Spain and how great they are. So definitely want to keep an eye out on Friday morning. I'll say thank you to you, Liam, once again for joining me to talk about everything Primera Federación.
It's been an absolute pleasure as always, Nick.
Definitely, I'll say thank you very much to you guys at home for joining us as well. Keep your eye out across on the social medias for all the updates and any news later on this week. We'll be looking forward to watching all the games at the weekend. But for now, we'll catch you later and hasta luego.